All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We are here with Hand2mind with Pam and Michael, and they're going to share with us a little bit about Hand2mind and the makerspace. So I wanted to introduce Pam Caffrey. She is an educator with over 15 years of experience. She has led STEM initiatives in the classroom, and she's a former middle school supervisor for a large urban district with a STEM certificate. So she is currently a national presenter, and she's actually at a conference right now, coming to us from Atlanta. Her primary role at Hand2mind is sharing engaging math, literacy, and STEM solutions to districts across the country. She also leads a group of professional development providers for Hand2mind. So she comes to us with so much expertise, and it's a pleasure to have you here with us at STEM STL today, Pam. And with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Myra and Sam. It's a pleasure to be here. And Michael, I want to thank you for looping me in and getting me connected with these fabulous people and a wonderful organization. Before we got started, Myra and Sam were telling me a little bit about what they do, and it's amazing work. What a wonderful opportunity for the kids in your area. Isn't that just fabulous? So thanks, Michael, for connecting me in.
Absolutely. What these people are about is unique, and I hope it's spread across the country.
Well, I hope it is contagious. So I'm thrilled, as Myra said to you, I'm coming to you from the National Science Teaching Association Conference in Atlanta. And there are 4,000 to 5,000 science teachers here at this conference. And to be able to rub elbows with like-minded people who are sharing the same passion that we all do. And it really comes down to making learning fun and put the fun back and the engagement back into learning. And so I was really super stoked when Michael asked me to present this, because this is one of my favorite things to talk about, and that is looking at makerspace and makerspace solutions and thinking about makerspace really in a very different environment and a different role. So before I get moving with that, I want to share a little bit about who we are as a company, because I think it speaks volumes for us, for you, when you look at us as a potential partnership and helping you put in those makerspace solutions. So Hand2mind, oops, wait, hang on just a minute. It's not cooperating. Now it is. So Hand2mind has been around for over 50 years, and our name has changed. You may recognize some of these names, but you know, there's one thing that hasn't changed in this time frame, and that is that we are all about providing hands-on experiences for kids. And the reason why we do this is really what drives everything that we do as a company. The reason why we do it is because we know kids learn best by doing and experiencing nature and experiencing science and STEM. And they can do that when they really experience a type of makerspace environment. Well, you know, is this an understatement or what? Our world has changed in the last couple of years, hasn't it? A lot of things have changed, and not, you know, some of these things have changed certainly due to the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic. But a lot of things were changing in the midst of that and before that, right? So here's a perfect example of how things in our world have changed. Now, this is coming from a restaurant, in a hotel, in a conference center. Have you seen this?
I have never seen that. No.
Okay, so our food was served by a robot, by a programmable robot. And recently I was at a conference up in Fairfax, Virginia, at the George Mason University. And I saw all of these little robots parked outside of all of the buildings. And you know what they were? They were robots that were delivering food to the students in the dormitories and to their classrooms and in their student union. So that is just one small way our world has changed. And so when we think about those things, there's some things that we need to do as educators that also need to change. Here's another reason why this is so important, and I start with this. You see, this is from the World Economic Forum, and this was 2015. I know that's a little bit down the road past where we've been, right? But I bring this up for a point. Look at the top 10 skills that the World Economic Forum says is important to succeed in the year 2015. What's the first thing you notice on that top 10 skill?
For me, it's creativity. It's at
Where
the
is
bottom of the
it?
list.
At the bottom of the list, right?
Mhm.
Okay. In 2015, that's exactly what I was thinking too. In 2015, creativity was on the list, but it wasn't necessarily in the top 3. Complex problem solving and coordinating with others and people management in 2015 is what was needed. And so the education system and what students are learning at that time might have fit that bill, might have helped to make people successful in 2015. Well, look at this next one. This is the top 10 skills for people to succeed in the year 2020. What's the aha here for you?
Creativity is moving up. The importance of it.
The importance of creativity moved up to the number 3 spot. Okay, so complex problem solving is still up there. That's still very important. But in order for people to succeed in 2020, these are the things that the World Economic Forum said were important. These are skill sets, and they should be embedded in a child's education to be able to grow and become successful. Well, let's fast forward to 2025. The top 10 skills look very, very different for 2025, don't they? And probably in part due to the pandemic. Because if you think about those skills that were needed for us to be able to successfully navigate that storm called the pandemic, we would look at things like being very critical and analytical in those things. When complex problem solving is still there, creativity drops down a little bit, but it's not necessarily creativity that's lost, because it's being able to analyze, it's being able to look at things in a different way and innovate solutions for that. In other words, our students need to have skill sets of being able to unlearn, relearn, redo. Now, reading and writing is important, but being illiterate in the future doesn't necessarily mean not being able to read and write. Being illiterate in the future means not being able to innovate solutions to solve the upcoming problems. And we thought we had problems in 2020. We have no idea what those problems are going to be like in the 2025 and in the future. So for our children, what we need to do is rethink those skill sets and where we can put them into play so our kids can be better suited for their future. Why do I say Makerspace fits that bill? Well, there's several reasons why Makerspace is important. Makerspace allows students to really be self-directed, and sometimes self-direction helps us innovate. It also allows for that creativity. And you know what? That creativity and being self-directed is done in a very safe space. And that's what our children need. Our children need to be able to test the waters in a safe environment. And that's why Makerspace fits the bill. It allows them to fail forward, and again, in a very safe space for this. Makerspace also engages kids to collaborate and enhances their communication skills. And this is really important because they've probably been missing a great part of these 2 skill sets for the last 3 years. So incorporating Makerspace in any type of environment helps students learn and relearn how to collaborate and how to communicate. And lastly, they can explore new ideas. And I think what's really critical is that, again, it's a safe environment for them. It's not tied to some statewide assessment or any type of thing like that. What it helps them do is practice these skills in a new environment. Now, what I often talk to teachers about, which I think is very important for all of us to think about, regardless of where we are in the teaching and learning in the community, and that is how we can integrate makerspace in a variety of ways so that students still practice these skill sets in that safe environment, but they might be learning new concepts in science, in math, in literacy. So there's a variety of ways. The flexibility of makerspace is just limitless. So let's look at those innovative makerspace solutions that Hand2mind offer. And all along the way, I'm going to share with you some little teacher nuggets, because you know I'm a teacher down to my very bones and I just can't get it out of me. Okay, so let's look at the makerspace solutions that we offer. Well, I'm going to start right here. So these three are really our backbone of makerspace solutions that we provide. You see the STEM Lab makerspace cart is on the left that you see, and I'll talk about each one independently. Then we offer makerspace classroom cart and STEM beds. Okay, all of these resources that I talk to you about really help build that maker mindset, that innovative mindset that we've been talking about. And they use what we call the engineering design process. And really, it's just a cyclical process where students can examine a problem and be analytical about it, seek to find a solution or design a project that depicts that possible solution, test it, and then retest it, fail forward several times, rebuild, and plan and think again. So all three of the solutions that I'm going to share with you today really focus in on that in a variety of ways. So let's start with STEM Lab Makerspace Cart. Now, this cart is really designed for maybe a STEM lab room or a community room. It's wonderful. It's nice and big and sturdy and comes on wheels. Anything that you see today can be bundled in various configurations. So the full bundle includes all of the materials that you see: a teacher guide, a getting started guide, and task cards, which are amazing. And there are two configurations for this cart: kindergarten through 5th grade and 6th through 8th. And it's based on age-appropriate materials. Okay, has a wonderful whiteboard space where students can kind of tinker with their planning, where you see where it says Makerspace Cart on the top of it. And all of the materials are in the drawers with a great, easy to get started and easy to load in assembly guide. What this cart and the others do, for that matter, really promote that creativity and that tinkering, that sense of tinkering and design thinking. And those are really important activities for our students to do, because here is where they're going to practice the problem-solving capabilities, practice collaboration, practice innovative design, and failing forward. So we offer open-ended activities, and that can be standards aligned. So if you're thinking about, you remember we talked earlier about building that communication, that bridge between extended learning environment, after school environment, summer school, family, home, community, and the school. We want to continue to colonize those two and bring them together. And so these types of open-ended standards aligned activities can do that, where it's going to satisfy the curriculum in a school setting that's kind of structured, at the same time provide that connection so it looks unified across. And I hope that makes sense. And it really allows students to have an authentic solution to a particular task or problem that might be presented. So that's the STEM Lab Makerspace Cart. Great for rooms. It's great for a library, a community center, a media center. all of those kinds of things. And it can be configured to suit your needs. It can be bundled in different capacities with minimal purchase. And so Michael can help you with all of those kinds of things. Okay. Before I move on about this and move on to the classroom cart, does anybody have any questions about this particular cart?
Yeah, I think this looks great. And I think one thing that comes to mind also as a former teacher is this fear of, well, how do you have any tips or advice on teachers or educators potentially just getting started with maker spaces, and this idea of like, how do I manage like the open-endedness of like, they can just grab all of the supplies and things of that nature. Do you get questions like that?
Yes, yes, I get that question often, and I'm glad you asked that, Mara, because that's the hill that many teachers have to climb, the challenge, so to speak, because you're looking at this fabulous cart with all this material, and the first thing that comes out of a teacher's brain is, oh my goodness, how am I going to manage this? How do I control all of this? Because I can take certain amount of chaos in my room, but I don't know how much I can take, right? And so there are a variety of ways that you can do this. Starting out, at first, I really believe in taking some time to explore, either with us or someone that's experienced at putting in makerspace, taking that time and sitting down and kind of diving into it, because the open-endedness can be scary for some teachers. And then later on in the presentation, I've got one little teacher tip that I think might help, and I'll bring it back here. And we'll talk a little bit more about it, but starting off small, okay? Starting off with maybe a task and posing a problem. Like, for example, what if I'm teaching in the classroom? What if I'm teaching animal adaptation and living at what do living things need in order to survive? And what are we're looking at something like that. Well, I might ask them, pose that question after we've had some lessons about it and done that. And I would say, you know, what if you had this animal and you needed to protect this animal? What would its shelter be like? And so I would pull out maybe a few materials, put my students into groups, and have them work in smaller settings that way. It's not so open-ended, but I'm still allowing them the space to create their own design to that. So I've kind of guided that inquiry, kind of guided that time. And also I've reduced the amount of materials that I've managed. I think starting out for teachers, that's the best thing to do, is to reduce the amount of materials that you're going to put out. I would not ever recommend a teacher getting this wonderful card, rolling it into their room and saying, hey, look what I've got. That's just not going to go well that way. So you have to give students, just like adults, time to acclimate to something, set your procedures in place and how this is going to be used and when it's going to be used, like that. And bringing that in gradually with your students come to, first off, own it. And then they become responsible for the materials and things that they're doing if I've put those procedures in, if I've laid those procedures out for the students. Okay. Is that helpful, Myra?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
very helpful.
Great. And we'll talk some more about that too. Well, that's it. This is the STEM lab card for a larger space, but what about something smaller for the classroom setting or a individual room setting? Let's say whatever community center you're in, and you have one room dedicated and you want to roll this in on specific times. So this is called the Makerspace Classroom Cart. It's available in different configurations, grades 2 through 3-5. And so this particular cart literally can roll anywhere. And it comes just like the STEM lab cart in various bundles. You can purchase different a la carte if you want. If that's it, you're going to actually, the materials are common everyday materials. It's not anything fancy. We advocate that so that students really are stretching their creativity and really using, and they can see that they can use common everyday materials. It can come that way. It can come full bundled, and all of the trays in the cart and inside the cart are organized in such a way that you just drop the materials in. So it's really easy to put together. In fact, both these carts come with a fabulous assembly guide and a getting started guide. So this is the inside page of the getting started guide. And you can see on the left, it talks a little bit about the engineering design process. I think this is really important because you might have facilitators or teachers that are using this program, and maybe they're not as in tune to the engineering design process as other things that they are. Maybe this is something very new to them. So we offer a very general, easy to use description on what this is. And this is another teaching tip for you here. I could actually introduce this to my students, this engineering design process, and we can focus in on an engineering task. Take, for example, the one that's shown on the right, like this one, design and build a game using magnets. So I could say to my students, I could be teaching the engineering design process, walking through the steps, and I could say, okay, so class to group, each of you are going to pair up as an engineering design company, and I want you to design and build a game that uses magnets. I could even create a story and really get them engaged in it and commit to the idea that they're engineers and they're have this company, this game company, and they need to build this. And then I could begin by starting them with, let's define the problem. So this is more structured. This is a more structured lesson. It allows the teacher to have just enough control where we're really kind of introducing the process of maker to them and not so open-ended. That's another great way to get started. So this is the task cards that we offer for both carts that you've just seen, the STEM Lab Makerspace cart and the Classroom cart. And look at the front side of this card. It's very visual, gives some sort of picture that provides just a little bit of guidance here, but it is low literacy demand. So if you have lots of English language learners, this could be very beneficial for them. On the flip side, the back side of that card, we provide a tip and ways to kind of think bigger and beyond it, okay? So these are great tools and resources that come with the Makerspace, and I hope these are great teaching tips for you and facilitating tips to help manage something that could be daunting if you've never done it before. So both these programs these solutions come with other Blackline masters to help the teacher and the facilitator kind of guide the students in learning how to collaborate and relearning how to collaborate, right? So these students can begin with this Makerspace rules plan, and they actually work together as a team. They could kind of determine their own way of work. I hear this promotes voice for them, and it gives them, let's try it attitude. It really own it more so than the teacher does. Okay. Do you guys like that? I love this space. The students have been without collaboration, except in a virtual setting for, way too long. And so we have to give them opportunities to relearn those types of skill sets. And that's a very important skill set, as we know, having looked at the skills that they need for beyond 2025. So here's another teaching idea that I have for you. So I can use Makerspace to enhance and develop concepts, conceptual understanding, because that's really important. So I can, as an organization, you could work with teachers to determine what those concepts are and then help build activities and things that can go along with what's happening in the classroom. That's a perfect way to bridge both the organization and what's in the outside entities in the community with the schools and the curriculum. So here's an example from middle school. This is from the 6-8 challenge card or task card, and this particular one asks middle school students to design and build a marble run so that I have at least 2 turns for that marble. Okay, so you can see the model that was built on a whiteboard and how it's working. And I've got 2 runs here, but this is what we did after the fact. You see, this was actually done virtually. And so what we did was we used Padlet to create kind of a shared board where students could talk amongst each other, ask questions. Okay, so you can see here on the first part, I posted the picture and we gave the explaining, and the question that was asked is, how did you make the first turn? And so now students are kind of nudged to provide explanation. And when they write an explanation like that, what they're doing is they're developing the conceptual understanding of different things like gravity, like forces and interaction. And that's exactly where we're leading this. And so the questions continue. Now, this can be done in any type of space. It doesn't have to be done in a shared space virtually. It could be done on a board. It can be done with sticky notes, and questions are being posted from other students as they're questioning and discussing the success or the failure. And you notice in this one, there was a point of failure, which is really, really, really important. To me, that's the best part, is where does it fail and how do I solve that failure there? Okay. Well, I want to give you a chance to really look at these task cards in detail. So what I've done is I've pulled some of them as a sample, and I'd love for you to download that sample and test them out. So if you'll just take your smartphone and open up your camera to it, you can aim that QR code and download your free sample and print those out, test them, try them out, and see what you think. Okay, that's the best way to check it out. So it will be there for you. And I'm so glad you're recording this so that everybody else will have that opportunity as well. Well, the third makerspace solution that I'm going to share with you today, and the final one, is our STEM bins. STEM bins are what I call the mini makerspace. Now, this was developed by Teach Outside the Box, a Brooke Brown company. We've partnered with Brooke Brown to produce what you see here. The STEM bins come in 2 different configurations, what we call a basic set and then a comprehensive set. And it's really what it is the smaller totes that literally can go anywhere. Tabletop makerspace, anywhere. It's common everyday materials. They're already labeled and everything. But I think the beauty of this, besides its mobility, really comes in the task cards and the teacher guide. Okay. And by the way, this is primarily for, I would say, kindergarten through 5th grade, although I've seen lots of 6th graders and even 7th graders really love this as well. It comes with a different type. She calls them challenge cards. It's the same thing, very pictorial. There's some designs. There's text on one side on some of the cards, some of the cards, there's pictures on other cards like that. And the teacher guide, along with the Blackline Masters, are just amazing, amazing. Brooke Brown is in the classroom teaching, and she utilizes and puts this to work all the time. So that's one thing that you can count on, is that everything that I've shown you is teacher created, teacher tried, and true. Another aspect of STEM bins is that Brooke provides writing prompts, and these are perfect for what we want our young engineers to do. They need to write like an engineer, because when students are writing, they're developing an understanding of those concepts again. She even provides different ways for students to make sense of the phenomenon and make sense of the engineering problem. And when she has 2 different configurations for this, kindergarten, 2nd grade, and 3rd through 5th, as you can see the difference there. Well, a lot of, as I hate saying there are a lot, like good things came out of pandemic, because when we talk about pandemic, we really think, there's nothing good about that. But there are some things, some silver linings that we can take away, some nuggets that we can take away. And one was the need to create and kind of individualize and personalize some of these resources that we offer. And so partnering with Brook Brown, we did just that. As a result of the pandemic, there was a call for individualized packs for students to really engage in maker activities. So this is called STEM Bins Learn and Play Pack. It comes in two kinds of configurations, a single STEM bin that you see here, and then a pack of 4, which is great for group work or community work because it's really easy to pull several packs in and put them out. There are 10 makerspace challenge cards that come with it, along with write on and wipe off, the creation chart, as well as the prompts and things like that. And the materials in the STEM bin, for the most part, are non-consumable. So it's really portable and it's great to pull out and set down. Classrooms love this because they can use it for independent center time or practice time, or what do you do when students finish early time, and those kinds of things where students can be challenged to build something and they use those. These are perfect for, we are finding, for summer programs now. Lots of districts and communities are calling on us and asking us about these, and as well as customizing different solutions for those programs. So many districts across the country are using STEM Bins Learn and Play packs as part of the individual pack of goodies, if you will, that they're giving their students that are attending their summer program. So that gives you 3 wonderful makerspace solutions that we offer. But we offer so much more in the way of STEM and science coding, off-screen coding products. We also offer all sorts of different resources for the classroom and for after-school programs like our Make It, Take It, and all sorts of wonderful things like that. So I know that Michael can provide you with catalog access and our website access along the way. Well, you know, everybody, really, we're talking a lot about students, but the truth of the matter is we all like to tinker and design, don't we? So I thought I'd throw in a couple of images here for you so that you can see. This is actually at one of our conference workshops where we're talking about makerspace, sharing some of the same things and teacher tips and solutions that I just shared with you today. And they're all engaged and absolutely loving the ideas of looking at makerspace in a very different way, looking at makerspace activities for formative assessment in the classroom, looking at makerspace activities as a way to investigate a phenomenon in the midst of a science lesson, looking at makerspace as a way to help students maybe explain their understanding of a main idea in a story for literacy and reading. It's a wonderful way to let students express themselves by creating something. Suppose I ask them if they've read a particular story, how can you depict the scene that we just read? Well, I would put materials from STEM bins out on the table and then let them design and then explain to me what they're thinking about. It's a great way, very different way for them to express their understanding. And it's a perfect way for me as a teacher to catch and capture these ideas that they do know what they've read. So it's a wonderful formative assessment tool, not just in science and STEM, but literacy and mathematics as well. But that's the adults. There are kids that absolutely love tinkering. And so I thought I'd share this with you. This is in a 4th grade classroom, and they are having a blast at this. But you know what the teacher told me was the most important thing here that they all walked away with? And that is that these students were planning and discussing and talking to each other in ways that we want them to talk to each other. They were listening to each other as they tried to bring 2 ideas together and build something out of those 2 ideas. And that's exactly what we want them to do, isn't it? We want them to collaborate in such a way that they have those skills and able to solve solutions to problems that we have no idea that we're going to be. It's going to be beyond our time by the time these kids get there. So everything that I've shared with you, and there's so much more that we offer in all sorts of ways, can all be customized. And really that is important for you to walk away with. Just with minimal purchase, we can work to design a solution that meets your needs. And it doesn't just have to be makerspace. It can be in so much other areas of that. Like I mentioned, we offer so many different robots for off-screen coding that makes a perfect another resource that you could put in this type of environment at all. And I just wanted to share with you, these are only 4 of the districts that we've partnered with. And there's so many others that we do in science and STEM, but I just wanted to put that out because it's one of the things that we really are known for, is our ability to sit down with educational partners such as you, and work the solution that fits your needs with that. Well, I'm going to throw up Michael's information and kind of turn it over to him if he's got anything else to add, and then I'll answer any questions that you might have about Makerspace and putting it in, more teacher tips. So the time is yours. So Michael.
Yes, thank you so much, Pam. Great job. And I always, you're a very good teacher. And Myra and Samantha, she took us in our winter training through some science activities, and explained as a teacher. She was teaching us to be teachers and students at the same time. So thank you so much, Pam.
You're welcome.
But also quite close to you all is another school district that partnered with Hand2mind. Carrie Lanius there in SLPS, St. Louis there, K-5 elementary kids, they decided that they wanted to cherry pick and custom build each grade level kit. And so
That's amazing.
It's the customization is something that's it's unique and it's growing as far as our requests. But with what you ladies do with STEM St. Louis, moving forward, I only see what you're doing growing, helping kids, and there's going to be, because of your connection to the community, you're involving parents. There's only going to be a greater demand for what you're offering them, the way you're approaching it, and from what I see. And so with that, you may get to a place where customization is quite appropriate, with more and more kids in those before and after school and summer programs, out of school opportunities that you're providing. So I salute both of you and STEM St. Louis for what you're doing. It would have been very good for me to have had that opportunity at their age.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
So Myra
Yes.
and Samantha, I turn it back over to you. And I would love to be able to provide Pam down the road. I just absolutely love having her. And so keep us in mind. And who knows, we might even be able to get her in person, but we want to continue to partner with STEM St. Louis and help you grow, period. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much. We definitely know Carrie. She's great. We actually had her last month. She was talking about STEM books.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I think this idea of, using even the makerspace with literacy or with other activities, I think is great for educators to know about. I think one question that I had was, how do teachers kind of keep up with all of the all the supplies? I know some of them you said, like the little boxes, they're non-consumables, so those are fine, but I think some of the other things, what's the best strategy to kind of keep those up?
Well, I think when like, let's just use the STEM Lab classroom cart for an example. There is an inventory sheet that comes with that. So the best tip that I have for teachers is to make a copy of that to keep, where I'm going to mark it up as I've used my materials. And because some of those materials are consumable, and there's several ways that you can replenish it. But I want to have a fast and easy way to keep my inventory. I don't want to spend the last day of my school year where all the kids are gone and everybody is checked out of the building, and I'm still there counting straws to figure out what I'm going to need to order come July 1 for the next school year. I don't want any teacher to have to do that, because I did that and that was the wrong thing to do. So what I offer you though is have 2 copies of that inventory, that you've got. And they come in bags, and there's going to be so much more materials that you can even fit into the drawer. So you're going to it comes with a lot of materials to use. But I'm going to watch that as I use it. And then when I start replenishing it, I'm looking at it and going, oh, I'm low on cotton balls. So I'm going to highlight that on my inventory sheet. I'm keeping one in my file that's clean so that I have it, but I'm highlighting that on that second inventory sheet so that I know. So when I finish the end of the school year, I can look at my inventory sheet and I said, okay, this is what I've got. Now, to replenish it, you have a couple of options. It's the most convenient way is to pick up the phone and call Michael and say, hey, I need to replenish these materials on them, because we have great sourcing capability, and it can be it's convenience, and it can be fairly affordable that way. The cheapest way would be for the teacher or the facilitators who's going to manage this and manage the materials is to go to a favorite dollar store or anything like that to purchase, because you'll see that these are really common everyday materials to do, or order from Amazon or things like that. But the convenience is not there. Your time and a teacher's time is precious, and that ordering and trying to get that in and going through that process may be a little bit more than what they want to do. So that's 2 ways that you can do that and manage your materials. But I highly recommend keeping inventory as you go along. And then, we talked about being able to manage those kinds of things. The storage, number 1, is something that you need to think about. So like I said, most of the materials are going to fit into those drawers, and then you roll that wherever it is and it's stored there. But there's some of those materials that are going to that won't fit, that are going, not all of them. And so I need a place to store those extras so that I have readily available, that I can replenish the cart as we go through. So you want to think about that. The STEM bins, the comprehensive set, this 16, is really easy for teachers to manage, because those are little bins. They're not any bigger than a shoebox, a plastic shoebox. They're actually a little smaller than that. Not all of the materials are going to fit in those. They're all labeled. They come labeled. So it's looking at it and go, oh, the craft sticks go here. And I put the craft sticks in there. Okay. But not all of the craft sticks may fit in that little bin at one time. So again, I'm going to need, a way to kind of store the extras where I can get to them and get that to go. Okay. Did that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah, Sam, go ahead.
So do you have any tips, or what are your suggestions for a teacher or an instructor that's new to the makerspace and they kind of have anxieties about it? I know you mentioned earlier just about the structure of it and allowing themselves to be creative, but they are new to the space. This has nothing to do with the students. They haven't even gotten their students yet. They are new to the space. They are new to the equipment and all of the materials. And there's just this anxiety about, how am I going to plan? How am I going to do this?
Right.
Do you have any tips to ease that anxiety?
Yeah. It's Zen. It's the Zen of makerspace. Yeah, I think teachers need time to mess around, to play, to sit in a very comfortable, maybe in a group setting, It doesn't have to be structured professional development, although that's very helpful to bring someone in like me, or so we can take some time and go through some things. But it just needs to be some time where we can sit and kind of, shoulder to shoulder with other teachers and kind of look at this and kind of work through it in our head as a teacher. And different teachers do things, think and process much differently than others. We don't all have to do it the same way. And I find it when teachers are allowed to tinker, just like students did, like you saw in the workshop, they begin to feel very comfortable with the materials. When we start that exercise in the workshop, there's a little bit of hesitation, to approach. And so what I do is, I was using the classroom cart. What I do is I take the drawers out of the classroom cart and I lay them on the floor. And so I start off with that and I give a task. The task that I happened to use was the animal adaptation one. I said, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to pair up and you're going to work to create a model that's going to protect this particular animal. Okay. When I put out the drawers across the floor, first off, it allows them to see all the materials, because that in itself, something closed up in a drawer or even in a bin, is daunting. I don't know what's in there. I don't know how to use it. I don't know what to do with it. And it's so much, So I spread it out and we take a tour of the materials and we look at it and we talk about those materials. And so then they go back and they kind of talk to each other about what they want to do and they start building. But there is a slight hesitation. It's okay. And telling teachers that it's okay to have feeling this anxiety and kind of think, let's just tinker. We're tinkering with very little purpose, except that I want you to be comfortable with it. And so once we do that first tinkering and once we do that first then we start talking about, okay, now how do we put this into play with kids? What are we going to do with this? But I've given them time. I was a seventh grade science teacher for a few years. And one of the things that really surprised me as a teacher is the first day I would put materials out on the table. We're going to start. We're going to get hands-on from the very first day, because I'm going to introduce my kids to what it's like to think and be a scientist. And there was so much hesitation from my middle school seventh graders because they weren't exposed to that. They haven't experienced those kinds of things. They didn't know what to do with it. So allowing them to explore first with each new piece of equipment that I put out, and we talk about how to care for it and what we're going to do with it, what we're not going to do with it, was really important. And I think that's the same with teachers. If we give time to explore and kind of talk about it, and then talk about it in the sense of what can we do with it with our kids, what kind of think about the things that could possibly happen and go wrong that I don't want, to be able to properly manage behavior, because I'm going to have to do that as well, right? I'm putting wire cutters and scissors on the table, or I'm putting, electrodes and things and batteries and things on the table. So I want to allow students to kind of think about those and we're going to talk about that before we're actually going to dive in. So it takes a little bit of time. But the time that I put in the front end is so much more valuable than trying to fix it on the back end. And now I've just frustrated everybody. Okay. Is that helpful, Sam?
Yeah. So Samantha, I put one of those makerspace carts together right after I got hired. Pam sent me one, and not the big wide one, but the classroom model. And I got this thing, and it's been a while since I taught physical science, but I took it out and just took everything out. It was like it was Christmas, and I started and then I realized, I get to label these things too, and I get to choose the color. Okay, I want to put the electrical stuff in this one. No, I want to put it in the yellow. No, I want to put it in the green. And I just started doing that and kind of geeking out on it, and 3 hours went by just like that. And then after I did that, Samantha, and I had seen everything, I was at the conference, the science conference, and I started, like, I would just like reminisce about when I taught physical science. I think I could have used that and I just started doing it without even thinking about it. But I tinkered, and I promise you, I did not put her up to saying that, and she didn't put me up to saying what I just said. That's literally what I did.
I hope
Yeah,
that helps.
well, thank you. It did. Thank you.
Okay.
That's super helpful. I think my last question was, I know sometimes we get parents wanting to say, hey, well, like, what can I do at home with my child? And so do you all offer things that maybe like a parent could come and say, hey, like, I'm going to order this, because I think it would be a great activity to do at home.
Yes. There are individual kits that we offer. There's one that's called Engineering Toolkit, Design Toolkit, that's perfect for home use. So we offer a lot on our website as well in our catalog. Our website is hand2mind.com, and you can look for those other resources. But there's some amazing things there that are also free resources. So you'll see that, just look at that and pull. I think one of the great things that you can encourage parents to do is using the task card or the challenge card. Maybe you send that home with kids, and they can use common household materials. They can find things that, everybody has empty paper towel rolls and toilet paper rolls that can be cut up and used in all sorts of different ways. Part of the roller coaster, the marble run that I shared with you was done all with cardboard that I found around the house to put together. And so that's a great way to just use common everyday materials to build. In fact, we saw that a lot during the pandemic, where kids were doing virtual learning, and they were building and tinkering, building catapults with common everyday materials, videotaping themselves, and then sharing it out with their class. And it ended up, of course, in the teacher's Twitter account. So you just search all of those, and you can see wonderful things that are happening with kids at home. We really strive to bring learning to life at not just school, but the community centers, and home. We want to continue to bridge the learning at home. So we offer so many other learning at home resources. So just reach out to Michael, or even go to our website, hand2mind.com.
And Samantha and I, Myra, we've talked, and I'm going to be following up with her on a price quote for kits that we call Make It Take It for the April event. And that's as soon as you mentioned that, I thought, oh wow, I need to bring you some of those Make It Take It kits.
Yeah. In fact, we're using the harmonica one, and all of the teachers at the conference are stopping by our booth, and they're building their own harmonica with it. So they're quick, easy lessons where students can really focuses on a single phenomenon, but they're great for after school programs and community programs as well. And then the students take their model that they build, take their harmonica or whatever it is, and they take it home and continue the exploring from that point. So.
And that's the real power of what you all are doing, is that you're getting the kids involved, but the fact that you're connecting parents to it, ladies, keep fighting that good fight, because that is there. You get a parent involved with the kids learning, and you all have seen it. It doubles in value.
It does.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, and thanks, Pam, for being here. Sam, did you have any other questions for them?
I don't.
No, I think we're super excited to just be offering some of those kits in our STEM at home day for STEM week. So we're very much looking forward to that partnership, and then all of those things going out to hundreds of kiddos this April.
Well, thank you for having us today, ladies.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to hit